Tonight we're going to start working on the wiring underneath the hood. So we're going to get all of this wiring out here straightened out. There's a couple different harnesses that we've picked up. I'll show you those. But the rats ate some different pieces of it. You can see on this sender, oil pressure sender line there, that's a little chewed up. You can see this is chewed up a little bit. Bunch of old wires. There was missing wires. In the last video we made a wire for the temperature sensor for the coolant, but really we're just going to go ahead and change all of these harnesses that you see. This one coming along the back wall, the firewall there, coming around to the starter solenoid. The other one that leaves there and heads up forward here, we're going to change that one out. So we're really going to work on getting all of this different stuff up here as far as wiring straightened out. The other thing, if you look right here and you know these trucks, this bracket right here that's kind of holding some wires right now is actually supposed to be where the washer fluid bag goes. And then down here, those three holes there, two on the right, one on the left below that big hole, is where the water pump's supposed to go, or the washer fluid pump. That's not there either, so we've got those on order. They're coming this way. You can see right here we got this big old rusty horn. They've got a wire set going to that one right there. What they did is steal the wire that's supposed to go to the washer fluid motor pump and turn it into the horn. So this big old rusty thingamajig here is going to get out of here. We're going to reclaim that wire, put it down to the washer fluid pump, and then we're going to reinstall the two horns up front underneath behind the grill. There's only one there, the other one's missing. We'll get those in here too, but anyhow, those are the wiring harnesses we're going to tackle here. Try to find all the things that are supposed to go where they're supposed to, get them all straightened out, and then try to remove any electrical issues, at least from the firewall forward, to include back to the brake lights. Inside the cab, whole nother story. There is no wiring harness I can buy for that other than a big $800 like full harness deal. It's not really like a factory replacement. It's more of a update kind of universal thing. But we're going to work on all that. You can see I went up and picked this Edelbrock air cleaner up to stick on top of the Edelbrock carb. Just figured I'd make them match up. So we got that in there. That was a quick, simple, easy one. That way we finish off the engine, that kind of stuff. One other thing I want to show you is another little quick one that we did. Got a new cap for this. Got the new rubber grommet there because the one before was, as hard as brick and brittle. And then since I was doing that, I pulled the little pipe out that goes from the cap down into the fuel tank. Gave that a quick black spray paint. And now it pretty much blends in. So that was another pretty easy one that we did. Got that updated. Got the that looking good, sealing tight, because the old cap didn't even seal tight because the rubber gasket in there was no good. So anyway, that's the couple of the quick easy ones that we did. We'll dive into the rest of this electrical. Let me show you the stuff that we've got here. Picked up these different harnesses, voltage regulator, things like that. So these are the three big harnesses that we have. Got us some of that dielectric gel stuff, voltage regulator. I'm gonna work on putting all this stuff in, wait on the rest of the few parts to come. But anyway, that's the goal of this video, is to get all the electrical underneath the hood and back to the taillights updated, replaced, and working good before we get behind the dash, which is going to be a horror story, I think, but we'll see what that looks like when we get there. So the first wire I chose to work on, sorry it's a little dark over here, I keep having to move lights around, but so this is the new alternator harness. That's big black connection there. That's for the voltage regulator, which was sitting right there where that rusty spot is. I pulled that thing out. There's the old wire. So I just laid the new one out here to make sure everything looked right. So all the connections are the same. Still haven't pulled the old one yet, so I laid the new one across here. It really goes down here behind the grill between the radiator, but I'm just laying it across top right now. Came over here, follow this around. So then we got all the new wire parts here. Pulled the alternator off, just 2 bolts. Pulled it out of that spot right there and brought it up here, and then started looking at these things. So comparing all the connections, I've got the different connections, the black one, the red one. I assume that's used to be white back in the day. But we'll double check and make sure we got all those things right. You got the ground right here. That's this same one here. All that seems to match up. If you look over here, there is one part right here with the black and yellow wire that goes to the back side of the solenoid. That's this piece right here. So looks like everything matches up. I just got to make sure I get the right black, white, and orange pieces together there and get all that put together the right way on the back of the alternator, and then everything should run. But as you can see, this wiring and everything looks really bad. The alternator still says Motorcraft on it there. Seems to be working all right. Definitely rusty on the front. I'll show you that. So the pulley and fan and all that stuff's rusty, but it seems to be working. I don't know. I'm torn at this point, seeing how rusty this is and corroded, even the connections on the back. Kind of hesitant to put a new set of wires on this old alternator, but I think I'll just do it for now, just to get it wired up. Maybe see if they got one at the store I can grab, or something I can order, but I don't know. Just, I didn't want to drop the $200 on an alternator when this one works. So probably just for now, I'll go ahead and put it together like it is and put it in the budget. So I'm gonna go ahead and work on swapping this and putting it all back together. So I got the old wiring harness out, got the new one in. To be honest, putting it back on the alternator here was a bit tricky. Making sure we had everything the way we think it's supposed to go. So this orange one here, that was pretty easy. This one seemed pretty easy. That's a ground. It even says it on here. It's hard to see. The issue we had was this one and this one over here. So as we were trying to figure out which one of those went to each spot, we came over here and checked out a wiring diagram, looked at that thing, got the color codes on it. Didn't match perfectly. It did say black and yellow wire at one point, but we didn't have that. We just had a black one. But we did have black and red. We had white and black, and then we had white. So everything else seemed to match up pretty good. So between the wiring diagram and what we took off, this is what we put back together. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. We did take the old one out completely at this point. So there it is on the ground, looking kind of tattered. There was one wire going to the back of the alternator that they had somehow spliced it and put some tape on it there. So it was definitely in need of changing. So hopefully this will eliminate any issues. And then if the alternator goes in the future, we know it's not the wires, it'll be the alternator itself. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and put this alternator back in its home right there. Connect up this wire over here to the starter solenoid right there. This wire here is a ground wire that connects down here, just on that bolt. So we'll get that connected too, get it all back in, show you what it looks like when we get it in. All right, the alternator's back in. That was a bit of a chore, had to crawl underneath there. So on that bottom side, there's a big long bolt. On the back of it, there's a spacer that was in there. That wasn't big enough, so they had, whoever did this before, took an oversized nut that happened to be good size for spacing and used that. So anyway, I had to get the spacer, the nut, the ground wire, all that stuff through the bolt and everything else, but we got that in. Then you can see over here, I connected this new yellow wire, comes in on this side of the starter solenoid. It shares that side with the starter cable. which still goes down there. So we'll work on changing that out at some point, but that's definitely working right now. So that'll be a later thing. We'll come back to this solenoid when we change this this harness up here, but for now, that's tied off on that end, and as you can see, the wire's coming up here. So we'll work on feeding it through this hole right there from the inside, so it'll come through from back here, feeding past all of the radiator and everything, and then pop back out over there. So now we got this side put together. So you can see there the nice brand new shiny voltage regulator. I'm glad we changed it because I took the other one out and it had like a spider web behind it, some rusty connectors, and just everything was kind of brittle. But we got that set back up. So now what we got left is this wire that comes out of that new harness, and we have this which comes out of that new harness. So that's supposed to go on this old harness that we're going to change out next. It goes to this, goes into there, and then this plugs into that piece over there. So I'm not going to plug those in. I know where they need to go. So for now though, I'm going to go ahead and work on the next one. Got this horn relay, waiting on that to come in, but we're definitely going to replace that because that looks pretty worn out, crusty looking. So we'll get that on the way, but I can still run the wiring harness while that's being shipped. So you can see that harness comes back here, and then twist my light around a little bit here to help you out. So then you can see this harness here that I'm holding on to comes over here, and it plugs in right here, goes through the firewall. So we'll disconnect this and then just pull this right here, and it comes right up along, goes through there, and then hooks up to the horns and parking lights, headlights. So we'll get that one swapped out and keep trying to make this look nice and reliable up here. Okay, we got this wiring harness for the lights out. Come over here, you can see some connections and stuff. This on here, this thing is the horn relay. I just went ahead and pulled it out. You can see that's pretty crusty. They weren't even using it for the horn because they had rewired it to run that other big fat horn that we got rid of. So anyway, this is the harness, comes all the way out here. This is the other headlight connection. You can see right here where they taped up some stuff, and then, you know, of course they oversprayed everything, painted it. I'm betting that's where the other horn connection was supposed to be. And then somewhere over there should be the other one, but anyway. The new harness has the horn connections. So like I said, we're going to get the two horns and get those things hooked up. But basically we had to pull everything through that hole right there. I did check the connections and stuff on the new wire that I already got kind of laying out here. Everything looks right. So now we're just going to go ahead and feed all this stuff back through this hole, or sorry, that hole. Connect everything up. I had to reach way down in there, it's kind of dark, squeeze my hand in to unplug the headlights. This of course is the running light wire right here. So anyway, we'll get that going, and then now my light's over there, but there you go. You can see this is the one horn that's left. There is a there's a prong right back here where you connect. We're adjusting lighting. But anyway, there's the prong where you connect the wire. You know, here's the running light way down in there where you gotta jab your hand to do the headlight. But we'll get this thing all laid out and wired up. As you can see, here's part of the new harness. We'll get it all in there, and then we'll show you when it's all set. And we'll try to make sure it works too. Okay, we ran the wire, got down here to the headlight. So as you can see, we've got this one connected in already. I got the old one off by just reaching down there and wiggling it, but I could not get the new one on because it's just so much tighter. So anyway, all you got to do to get these headlights out, it's really pretty simple. So So this little retaining ring right here just holds the headlight in, and it hooks on these screws right here. You see it's just got a fat end and a skinny end. So you just twist it counterclockwise a little bit. This thing pops out, headlight comes right out. When you're done with all that, you get the new one in. This is the, I guess the bezel or whatever goes around it. And that's just 3 screws. Screws in to right up here and right here. Then there's one on the bottom. So 3 screws takes out this this bezel. Loosen 3 screws, twist that, pops out, and then there's your headlight. So anyway, once I did that, I could pop this on pretty good, pretty easy. And now we're all set. So we'll finish putting all this back together and move on to the next piece. All right, so we got the new wire in. You can see here, got the plug there, back where it needs to go. It actually went back together way easier than it came apart. Anyway, so here's the new line, comes along here. There's our pack of connector grease that we were using just to try to cut down on corrosion, plus it helps get the connectors to slide together a little bit. So here's our horn relay, new one. Still waiting on the horn relay, so that's not plugged up. This wire here, actually, this is for a radio suppression thing. You can see that there. So if you don't use it for that, then it's going to cause system failure, so we didn't do that. Anyway, here's our connection here. This is for the horn relay. This is the ground. Then that goes through the hole, comes up here. So we got the new parking light hooked up there for that new wire. Like I said before, way down there is the light. I showed you how we hooked that up before. That runs across here. Try to get my light over here for you guys so you can see. You can see there's a connector right there. That's for the horn that goes on this side, which is obviously missing. And then as you come across over here, there's a connector for that horn. I'm going to switch that horn out. So because I'm switching that horn out, I'm not going to bother even connecting that up, but it would connect right there. Down there you can see we got the brand new, trying to find the right place for it to focus way down there, but we got it hooked up on the headlight. And right down there you got it hooked up to the parking light. So again, I may change out these parking light things here at some point, but they were working and they have new lenses in them. So we'll stick with them for right this minute. So we'll just keep working on each piece as we go along. So today is a new day. We'll move on ahead with the rest of the wiring under here while we wait for parts. I got on this morning, ordered some new brake parts. I'll talk about that in the brake video, but while I'm waiting on that, we're going to install the parts we do have, which are all these wiring parts that were already here for the next step. So who knows which video will come out first, but we're going to move in on this one. So today we're going to be doing the engine wiring harness here. That starts here, heads over there in the back like I talked about last night. A couple things. So I also have the wiring harness that runs, you can see it connect right there and runs all the way back to the tail lights. So we're going to replace that one too. Some more mysteries along the way. I got this, I don't know what this is. So it's just here, goes nowhere. It was tangled up in these wires here, kind of twisted up and stuck there. So I don't know, we'll figure out what that is. I'll trace it, see what's on the other end of it. There's just really no telling based on what I've seen as far as wiring goes, and I haven't even showed you the horror show underneath the dash. But so we're gonna go ahead and pull this out, get going on it, get the new one put in, hook everything up, and try to button things up here, at least as far as we can, until the washer, you know, the windshield washer motor and bag and all that kind of stuff comes in. But we'll do what we can today, get this thing switched out. All right, so before I could get this one all the way out, of course I'm trying to see what goes where and all that. So a couple issues. So not in the new wiring harness are these two wires that I have my finger behind. Those aren't there. And then here you see this tube that comes out of the firewall in a completely different place, protecting this wire, which comes down to be this wire, which then has been taped onto this. So there's 3 extra wires in this old harness, well, at least taped to it, that are not in the new harness. So I don't know what that means. And I come down here and I've got this wire and this wire, which if I come over here, that's these two 90s right here. So that's simple. I got this black and yellow wire, big connector on the end. So black and yellow wire here, big connector on the end. Then I got these 2 wires, which are crimped together, and they were also on this same hot side terminal on this starter solenoid. So I don't know what those are or why they're there. Guess that's what happens when you didn't wire it to start with and you're not a wiring expert, but that clearly is something that got added somehow, some way. Maybe it has to do with the radio. That's all I can think, because there are some yellow wires in the cab that head over towards the radio and all, so I don't know, maybe that's what it is. But we're gonna have to skin this harness, separate out these wires starting back here, and then see what happens. So I'm gonna get the razor blade out, start cutting through, get this thing skinned out, separate all these wires, and then obviously keep those, because like I said, they go in up there, completely separate place. So I'm going to separate them from this old harness, put the new harness in where it's supposed to go, and figure out what the heck these things are and why they're going over here. So we'll see what we find when we skin this harness. So I skinned that wire and harness. Here's the carnage, all the tape, some zip ties that were underneath the electrical tape that were bonding these kind of the wiring harness and then 2 other additional wires together. So I'll show you here. So here's what was going on inside of there. So you got these 2 yellow wires here, which you can see even like the insulation and stuff's just like flaking off of these things. It just pops right off. I don't know what the deal is with that. Obviously just old, but then you got this red wire right here, and they come over here, and then some master electrician, I'm joking in case you didn't catch the sarcasm, decided it was a good idea to bond that together to that wire like midstream, and then just put a little bit of duct tape around it and call her good, instead of crimping it inside of this thing, which obviously they didn't have a big enough connector to put all that together. So they just decided to splice it in a little ways up there, tape it all up, call it good. So let's suffice to say, I am not hooking this back up right now. On top of the fact the wires are in horrid condition, as you can see, just as I touch them, this crap just starts flaking off of these things. I don't know what it is right now. I'm gonna have to check the wiring diagrams and stuff, see what I can figure out. But I'm glad I separated it. I'm probably gonna pull it back over to this side and put it up there somewhere, zip tie it, get it out of the way until I can get inside the cab, figure out what's going on. I was trying real hard to just focus on the outside underneath the hood before I got into the cab, because I'm not looking forward to it. I can already look under there and see that there's some more of this electrician's work under there with they didn't even bother duct tape and stuff, or duct tape, electrical tape and stuff, and there's a bunch of junk under there. So whatever's going on here, not quite sure. We'll get to the bottom of it at some point, but for now I ain't hooking that back up. You can see, here's the regular wiring harness. Well, it's gonna fight me a little bit like wires do, but there's a regular wiring harness right there. Simple, easy, 3 connectors. Here's the new wiring harness. Simple, easy, 3 connectors. So we're gonna get this janky stuff out of here, put it out of the way, and tackle the rest of this crap when we get back on the inside. Okay, I I stopped filming a little too soon, I guess, last time. So our master electrician had been at work some more. When I pulled this harness out from behind the air cleaner, sure enough, here's some more of those wonderful connections. Just twist the old suckers together there, and doesn't want to focus on it, but anyway, twist those old suckers together and wrap some electrical tape around it, call it good. Different kinds of wire, different gauges of wire. Yeah. Again, I'm no specialist on the wiring either, but thinking that causes hot spots and stuff. But anyway, so I'm just going to disconnect that, get rid of all this yellow crap. This red wire was actually like a complete wire, at least until it was, so they stuck it down here on that thing. So I'll disconnect it there. I'm going to get rid of these red wires. Once I'm done with that, I'll bundle up this black and red here that comes out of the cab, this other bigger red wire, get those things out of the way. But yeah, just some more of that high quality electrician work there. Got this new harness in. You can see there's the battery cable back in. You can see the big connection there on the front. Then you got your blue with a red stripe and your gray wires. Those are just 90-degree connectors, so they just slide on pretty easy. We put some of that dielectric gel on there just to keep the moisture out. Brought this back up here. You can see it's clipped up along the back now because this harness came with those clips. And then you can see that one branch goes down, runs back under there. So there's a 90-degree that goes on the starter solenoid. May not be able to see it. Yep, there you go. So that's the water temperature connection, another 90-degree on that one. And then down here you got the new wire for the oil, for the pressure down there. So that's set up. That's all ready to go. Put that gel on all that stuff too. See that branches off, comes over here. Then you can see the nice new wire plugging in on the left side. There's still a connector down there. I'm not going to connect it yet because I got to get the, we're also going to switch out the wiring harness that goes back to the taillight, so that's what's there. Still got that one random loose wire I don't know about. Here I took these couple wires, bundled them up, zip tied them together, and zip tied them to the which one is that? Not sure what exactly that cable is, but anyway, zipped it up there, taped the ends off, all that. So we'll leave that like that until I figure out what the heck those go to once I get in the cab. So this is pretty much done. Just switch over and do that tail light wire that runs along the frame. That's a bunch crawling on the ground. Well, let me tell you the story about this mess here on the floor. So I got down there to get the rear brake light, I think it's frame wiring or something like that they call it. The new one's right here. Starts right there, goes along, there you go. Get back here to the end, there's two pigtails. So I thought, wow, this is one easy wire, this won't be a big deal. Well, let me introduce you to this little sucker right here. I called it a sucker so I don't call it something else, but so basically these things were, see that piece sticking up right there? That goes through a hole in the frame and somehow or another gets crimped and basically locks this thing shut. And as you can see, once that's locked shut, there's nowhere to get that wire out. I fought this one for, I don't know, probably a good 20 minutes. Didn't really know how it worked, kept prying at it. Of course, it's covered in some dirt dauber nests and some red clay and everything else, so some of that's in my eyeball. But yeah, so I got that one off, but that was actually after I decided that the way to get this thing out was to cut it and pull it out. So that's the front connector right there. Hack that. Then at some point, here's another section of it that after I was pulling so far, I just said, forget it, hack that. And then this here is the back piece. So, you know how I said there was that wire up front that I didn't know what it was? Well, it was running right along this other one. That was what was in front. Runs all along here. Anyhow, you get the picture. It ran along the whole time. So here it is coming to the back. And then it comes here, probably that same electrician that worked on the front of the truck. Anyway, I got some electrical tape, and then I got the other end of this wire, which goes nowhere. It was hooked to nothing. So why it was there, I don't know. Maybe somebody tried to hook up a tow harness or something. I don't even know. I'd just be guessing. But anyway, there's those two other connectors right there. So that's all well and good. Anyhow, I got that thing all pulled out of there. So now we're gonna run the new one. These clips, except for this one, are still there. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zip tie this thing to these clips. And that'll hold it good enough, I guarantee. And that way I don't have to fight those clips again. But here's a new one. We'll get that one in. Here's all the carnage here from the wiring that I've been doing. Floor's a mess. I can't put the truck on the ground because of the brake problems. Waiting on parts. All I can think is, so they added these wires, or lights, I'm sorry, that I don't know, look like they came out of this universal shelf or something. But as you can see, here's this. So clearly they won't ever work. I don't even think this one doesn't have a lens. Oh yeah, see, there's a piece of wire right there. So I'm guessing maybe that's what they were running that extra wire for, because the other ones terminate right here. So that's one, which doesn't look the best. So I'm gonna have to get those crossover wires too, I think. But that's one, and then there's another one a little further up. Anyway, so we're gonna pull these things off because they aren't wired at all, aren't supposed to be there. I mean, the paint won't look the best under them, but I'd rather get them off of there and just get all the junk out of there instead of leaving them. So I'll work on doing that, running that new wire, and I'll show you that once I get it up under there. But basically, it just runs along the frame rail, zip tied a couple places, and it'll be good. As you can see, here's somebody paid for these really nice chrome tail lights here. They actually work pretty good. They look pretty nice. I think this one, yeah, it even has the light down there for the license plate once I get one of those, working on insurance and stuff. But you can see this just goes right here. So this is the wire that hooks in, and there's a wire that comes from the other side for this one. Goes here. I'll look at it a little more, but those actually look pretty good. So I'll see where they transition over there, because I think there's like a crossover wire or something. But let me crawl back under there. I'll figure out what's going on. I'll show you if there's anything interesting. Otherwise, I'm just going to put that new one in. It'll be good. I told you if I found anything else in here, I would show it to you. So I got that hooked up. That goes straight from that new wire or light. So that side's good. This side hooks into a crossover wire, which I guess they had spliced into and then fixed it. I don't know what kind of tape that is. It's probably what they spliced into to try to do the those extra lights. But anyway, so that comes over here, hooks in here. We got some more splicing, whatever. So, and then that hooks into that new light. While I'm back here, I told you I'd go ahead and pull those off. So I'll just let you see what those look like. Just a couple screws, pull them out. Pull the wires out of the holes. So I don't know what we'll do to fix that. But for now, it just kind of is what it is. So anyway, that was what was going on under there. I've already run the wire along the frame. I'll hook it up in the front, do some zip ties, and I think we'll be done with the external wiring. I'll have to order that crossover wire, but you see how that is. That's pretty simple. Just see right there, goes over to there. Some more of those bad word clips, but we'll just hack that thing out of there. Probably zip tie the new one up, get something that looks decent. It's not all boogered up like that one, but that's it. the battery's in. We got it in there. We got the new tie down on it. This side worked all right because that's still part of the original tray. So this side down here, which you probably can't see now because of the light, but it was that piece of angle iron. Of course, the hole wasn't big enough. The angle iron's too thick for the hook, all that. So the Dremel, some pliers, a little bit of persuasion, and all of it worked out. So I got that set up. Battery's in there, hooked up. Now we're gonna go see if stuff starts working like it's supposed to. I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can get this thing started. Hear an old V8 running for a little bit and get some motivation for myself to keep going. Alternator light now that I didn't before, so I'm gonna have to troubleshoot that and figure out what the deal is. Alright, I know the truck's loud, but I hope you can hear me. So here's my problem. I've got this alternator light. I went and looked at a bunch of wiring diagrams and YouTube videos and everything else, and for the life of me it looks like we've got everything hooked up right. Now, we changed the voltage regulator, we put a new wiring harness in, it wasn't broken up and messed up. I mean, that alternator's old, so maybe it's bad. I don't have a voltage tester, my fault. So I'm gonna have to get one of those because I can't just drive it up to O'Reilly's or something. But one victory here, we'll take all the ones we can find. If you notice, the temp gauge is now working. So we got the new cine unit with the new wiring harness and everything. So there it sits, pretty much straight up down, right in the middle, like it's supposed to be. So I'm gonna let it run for a little bit longer and see if it keeps climbing or if it sits right there. But that's one small victory. That's one small, maybe defeat, we'll see. But for now, we're gonna wrap this up. Like I said, I think we've done what we can up there. I'll figure out the alternator piece. I'm either going to buy a voltage tester or just get a new alternator because that one's old. So I'll probably get a new alternator. And if I still got the light, then I'll go spend money on a voltage tester or something. But anyway, the truck's running good. I'm motivated about that. Love the sound. And you know, like I said, we got a few things done. Things are working pretty good.